Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Next Homie Focus Group. We meet here every other Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. And today we got Nathan White. We're going to have a conversation about mental health and how to preserve it. So, Pat's out there showing houses today. So, you've got just me as your host. And of course, most of you know Pat and I were your friends in Florida. But I'm going to turn it over to Nathan right now. So, let's all pay attention to Nathan White.
Well, hi. I know a few of you. Some of you I don't know. So what I will do is just to give you a little background on who I am, what office I'm at, and all that good jazz. I'm located here in Columbus, Ohio. As I like to tell the main office that we're the real Next Home Experience. They're the other one. But we're here in Columbus. We've got a couple offices here. I have a small team that I run now. I used to have a larger team, but found that a smaller one's better for me. And I've been doing this a little over 10 years now. My production is generally between 70 to 100 plus homes. I tell people, look, I don't know everything. I know a few things. I've got tattoos and generally a potty mouth and drive a couple trucks. And if you don't like that, I'm probably not your guy. But I'm just direct and honest. There's not a lot of gray area with me. That's come with some age, but I'm not as rigid as I sound. I love to have fun. And I brought this up to Chuck that there needs to be some conversation around mental health, just period. I don't want to say it's necessarily in our industry, it's everywhere. I know that those of us that are my age, or let's see, Chuck, or probably HVP there, and Steve, we were raised that, we don't talk about feelings and we don't talk about emotions. And you need to. And then as I was telling Chuck today, I was like, well, like, how do you talk about mental health? And I started like, what do you do, a slideshow, or what do we do? Like, or how do we create, or how does this even get talked about? And I was like, well, shit, you just talk about it, right? We just talk about it and what we go through or what we struggle. And then I'm like, well, then, all right, how else do we do that? Well, I said, shit, I'll just talk about me. And why? Well, I struggle mentally. And this was born out of a couple things. I'll give you the two reasons. One, I lost a 30 plus year friend to suicide. He was an anesthesiologist, and he, as an anesthesiologist would, methodically planned his death to the notes, the song, the lyrics, everything that he sent out to us and how it was done. And nobody knew it. So that's pretty painful.
You're
Give
good,
me a
man.
minute.
I got you. Take your time.
Pretty painful. And then, we were at a conference and I think I was playing blackjack or something. A few of us did, and we had a good time. But somebody said, man, Nathan, you kick ass, your sales are awesome. You come in here doing these costumes and having fun. And man, I want to do it like you. You got it all put together. I said, what? He said, you're like the total package. You got it all put together. And I said, if you only knew. He said, what? I said, man, I struggle every day. He said, what do you mean you struggle every day? I said, well, I have depression. I have anxiety. I have PTSD. I have ADHD, and I'm neurodivergent. He's like, oh, I wouldn't even know. Well, no, you wouldn't, because I didn't tell you. And so, it's like, well, then how do we talk about it? I mean, I guess you talk about it. I mean, a lot of people don't know certain things, or even what's neurotypical versus neurodivergent. I'll just ask the question. Does anybody know? So neurotypical is just somebody with normal brain development, right? It's just they're normal. They're not on any spectrum, right? But if you're neurodivergent, it's just defined as an individual that their brain works differently, typically on some spectrum, or have delays or a behavior that's different, right? That's what that is. I was late diagnosis too. I didn't get diagnosed with any of this good old stuff till I was 43, I think it was. 43, 44. What was been really cool about it is once I actually finally took the step of one, going to therapy. I'm a huge fan. I've been going to therapy for 7, 8 years. But I learned a lot about myself. And what I learned, I wanted to be able to offer insights or some suggestions or maybe just some help to somebody along the way. To one, I know for me for a long time was I thought I was alone. I thought there was nobody else out there that had struggles. And you don't have to have any of the things I have per se to have struggles, right? But I just thought I was on my own little island. And what I found out is, man, you're not as special as you want to think there, big boy. There's a lot of people. Um, but the problem is at least in my age range, and I'm 50, people don't talk about it. I mean, you even look at our audience right now. We've got one, two, three, four, five males. And that's always an issue because males were told we don't talk about feelings, right? Women are much more in tune with their feelings and okay to talk about things. I'll talk about anything now. Why? Because I know it's better. Maybe by talking about it, there's somebody in this room that needs to hear whatever I've got to say that it'll help. And so I was like, well, then what do we talk about? What are some things right now that challenge us mentally within our industry? Three things I think, and again, this is a little bit of discussion with my own therapist, is we have industry stressors, right? We currently have those going on, right? I mean, we have plenty of industry stressors right now. Like, hey, there's a lot of uncertainty, or what happens? How do we get paid? What's going to happen with commissions? So you got that stressor. Right? Then you add transaction stressors, right? I mean, we've all had many transactions, at least one usually, that it weighs on you heavily. It takes up a lot of your time. It's a huge amount of stress. Yet to our client, we're like this: oh, Rebecca, everything's wonderful and great. And inside you're going, holy shit, please keep this thing together. I'm going to die if I don't get paid, right? And then you have your own outside or personal stressors. And all of those things at once can be very overwhelming. How you balance them? Well, there's a lot of ways to do that, I think. And it can be simple things. Food and water. I think, for me, a lot of times when I get caught up in a lot of these stressful situations, I forget to eat. I forget to just simply take care of myself, to do things like that. So maybe I just go grab a snack. Maybe I grab some water. Take 20. I mean, we all get frustrated. I get blind mad sometimes. When I say blind mad, like you wouldn't believe, I want to go choke people out. I have to take 20. I just go for a walk, Nathan. Get out of the office, stop looking at your screen, and just walk away. Walk away from it. In that moment, whatever it is, if you're upset, I will tell you, at least from my own personal experience, you're not gonna win with emotion. And you can use all the logic in the world to try to win that emotion, and you're not going to. Logic never wins over emotion. It just doesn't. As much as we try, it doesn't happen. Give yourself enough time. Everybody in here, I'm sure, sometimes is like, Jesus, can they just back the fuck up? Give me a moment. They just texted me 3 minutes ago, yet they want an answer, right? So sometimes you got to give your own self enough time to deal with things and realize that maybe you don't need to respond immediately. I feel like we live in a world that, it's instant gratification. Everybody wants now. Chuck, I need to know now, right? Roseanne, I need to know now. Sandy, I need to know now. It's like, well, hold on, right? I'm in the middle of this, yet you want that, right? Then we get all stressed out again. So give yourself enough time. Even when I do showings or do my calendar invites, I generally build in a buffer of about 15 to 30 minutes, because I will feel pressure if I go back to back and I need to stop here to go to there. I do not like that. So I know for me, I build in a window of time because I talk a lot and I may carry it over. So I already know that I'm conditioned to that. So I give myself enough time. Set healthy boundaries. I mean, I'd love to ask the room how many in here actually do that well. When they meet with the client, do we set boundaries? I will tell you probably 90% don't. I do. I tell people all day, like, I have business hours. And unless your house is on fire, I will respond in an appropriate time. Because my work and what I do, I love, but I also love my wife. I love my kids and I like my friends, and that time is valuable too. And if I set those boundaries, I also know that I won't have that stressor of thinking, well, Chuck needs me to respond right now. I'm like, it's 8:30. Chuck knows he ain't getting that answer till tomorrow. But most agents don't. They'll say, hey, Chuck, I'm your agent and I'm available for you anytime. And if you're the agent that says that, I'll tell you, you're also a horrible agent. And the reason I'd say that is I watched a gentleman one time disregard 2 phone calls from his wife at a lunch. The third phone call, he said, I'll be right back. He came back 20 minutes later, said, sorry, I had to grab that call. He said it was a client. He needed something. And I looked at him and I said, you got your priorities jacked up. I said, you skipped 2 phone calls from your wife, but you answered a client's call immediately. That's your own priorities. And I think they're messed up. So healthy boundaries so you can have the time for either you or the ones you love or care for. And then that, again, one less stressor in there. And then I think the thing that we all forget to do, Sandy, would you mind helping me? Roseanne, can you help me? Chuck, I need a little help with this. You cannot do it all. I'm a DI on the disc scale, and I'm like up here on the DI disc scale. And so asking for help, being a control freak and a dominant personality is a very hard thing for me to do. I mean, it is extremely hard. But what I've learned to do is by asking for help and getting that help is also given me space to not be stressed out. I've learned to lead through others and to trust others. And that's important as well. And then the social media stuff, I guess one of the things I would say is it's social media. We work in an egocentric driven industry. Sandy, what were your sales last year? Heath, what award did you get? Steve, how awesome are you? Like, it's like we're always on the internet going, look at how great I am. Look at how great I am. A lot of that's noise. If you watch my Instagram, I did a whole thing on its noise. Comparison's the thief of joy. I don't know what Travis does in business. Does it really matter? No. I worry about my own business. I find that just way more important. And as y'all all know, I mean, the internet's just not real. You know, I mean, everybody in this group knows an agent who's crushing it and killing it right now. And you're like, yo, bitch, you got one transaction going on, right? Like calm down here. Like, that's not really happening, right? So, again, the social media, just ignore it. And then one other thing I thought about is, you know, don't cry alone. What, Nathan, cry? Yeah, I cry. I'll openly admit it now. I cry. And I mean, I could go into my whole history of what has it been now, Chuck, 4 years? I got COVID, pneumonia, sepsis, and AFib all at once. Went to the hospital, was in ICU, almost died. I got out of that. I had to have a surgery. They took my stomach, wrapped it around my esophagus so I could eat. I got done with that. I had a reaction to the booster. I had to have another surgery. Did that, slip and fell. I just had to have spinal surgery on my L5S4 and have it fused together. So yeah, shit's not been fun. Shit's not easy. And there were days that I would just sit on the edge of my bed and cry, but I didn't do it alone. I did it with my wife because it wasn't fun. But I'll tell you what, crying felt good, but I did not do it alone. And so, you know, I could sit here and talk a lot of different things. And I wanted, I guess, to go back to the comments because I'm talking and not reading too. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, it was hard losing my buddy. I mean, anyway, losing any friend is crazy. Chuck's right. There is no shortage of stress in this business. It's constant. It is nonstop. And part of that, sometimes I think we create, we also have a choice of what lens we want to look through. I now just, I go with I guess the easiest way would be a growth mindset or the growth lens. I don't look through a scarcity mindset. Those that don't know me well, 22 years ago it is now, 23, almost 24, shit. I was a homeless drug addict. I got my food behind the Safeway right outside of Beaver Creek, Colorado. All my stuff was in my Green Army duffel. and I slept where I could find that night, whether it was couch surfing or whatever, did a tent. And if I needed food, Safeway was the one place I knew I could go get it at the end of the day because they would pitch a lot of it. So I could sit here and be negative all day. And again, have that scarcity mindset. But then I look around and I go, man, I look at how much I'm blessed with. Look at what I'm given. Look at the people that are in front of me that listen and or care. I don't know, right? But growth mindset or scarcity mindset is a choice. And so that's a big one. But Angie's got on here, learning how to market text is unread. Oh yeah. I don't even have read receipts on mine, right? Because yeah, it's not even important, right? Some people freak out. I don't want to look at that. Just turn that shit off. You can literally turn the read notice off. Turn it off and go on about your day. I do that. Let's see. Let's see. Best thing I've done was stop wearing an Apple Watch. Or right, I have a watch that communicates with my phone. I don't get all those notifications to my phone because it's a distraction. And again, it's another external pressure. I mean, that's what that's my baseline 7 years of therapy, whatever you want to call it, talk is about mental health. I think what we always forget too is, I mean, look at Chuck said it, we're involved in a group of people that has a culture like no other. I really, when I say that, I know it and I believe it. I've been at other brokerages. I've had people go, man, y'all's brokerage is unique. And it's unique because of the culture and the caring and the compassion. So that's another thing we should just be proud of. But there's always somebody that will take the time to listen to you. Trust me, I have been in the lowest of lows. And there's always somebody willing to help. And you don't know what that help may be. You don't know what the phone call may be. You don't know what the text may be. And sometimes it's just sending a random text. I got one from Chuck a couple of weeks ago. Just said, hey, Nate, thinking of you. Boom, boom, boom. But what happened is it took that mood and ran about here, right? But if I would have been here down low, that simple just whatever text could have done who knows what. So sometimes, just throw a nice text out there, send somebody a message. You never know what it may do. And then I wanted to talk, and Chuck, I don't know if you can share the video. I think this is a great video. My group of friends that I have that, still very close. I gave this video in our group meet chat. I said, hey, we got a new rule. And everybody said, yeah, I like this rule. And I would like you to know that this rule applies to everybody in this room that you're fixing to hear about, but the rule is applicable to all of us, and I want you to know it. And Chuck, can you play that and share it?
Yes, absolutely. Just give me one quick moment. I'll share my screen so that everybody can hear it.
There, I can do share screen as well.
Okay, do you want to do it?
Yeah, I can do it because I have it right up.
Okay, cool.
Let's see, host sharing.
Thank you, sir.
Which do I go to? Did I do it? Share. Host disabled participant screen sharing. You gotta enable.
Hang on, you're gonna have that in just about 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, you're all set, brother.
Yeah, and here's one other thing that makes my day good. Sometimes you just need to take the dog to the office with you. Say, hey, Bodie. This is Bodie. Say hi. Whoop, whoop. All right, back there you go. All right, let's see, screen share. There we go. Let's go here. All right, can everybody see that now? Can y'all see my screen? Yes. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Hopefully I've got the volume right here.
From a friend to hold space with them.
Can y'all hear that?
Make them feel better. And so now we have a code word. When one of us is struggling, the text is, do you have 8 minutes? And that simply means, I need you. I'm going to cry.
There's no greater honor that you could give a friend than to send them a text message that says, do you have 8 minutes? Like when you're in your own darkness, there is no greater gift to let someone know how much they mean to you to send that text.
There's no great honor.
There is no greater. that is the level friend that I aspire to be. And I don't have a zillion friends because I'm like, the friends I have, I'm the 8-minute text in the middle of the night friends. I'm the stop, drop, and roll friends.
When someone is struggling or
And so give you some context is Simon was talking and said, you know, my friend said, hey, I needed you. And I wanted to talk with you about things. And you didn't really respond. And he said, well, how do I know to respond when it's a normal, just, you know, he's like, hey, what's up, Nate? You got some time to hang tonight or something? That's a normal text, right? But if he texts me and said, hey, Nate, you got 8 minutes? Yep. That means I'm gonna drop my shit. I'm gonna get on the phone with Heath and I'm gonna hear what Heath has to say. And I like what they say, like, I want to be an 8-minute friend. And I want to be an 8-minute friend to anybody. That's the way I look at it. And then as Chuck and I were talking as well, like, you know, well, he said, you know, what do you hope to get out of this? I said, well, I hope somebody will either, you know, say, hey, Nathan, and come up here and chat. And again, you don't have to do any of that. Or message me and say, hey, I'm right there with you. I get it, because we don't talk about it enough, but it's okay to talk about it. Am I still screen sharing?
Yes, you are.
I don't know. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay. Technology. And that's what I got. I mean, you know, if somebody else is, you know, trying to find that path or talk more about it, like, feel free. And if you don't, that's cool too. And if you want to talk about it privately, that's cool too. Just talk
Hey,
about
man,
it. We're all under a lot of pressure, and mental health's just it's a thing that's very important. In fact, Charis and I were talking about it prior to conference this year. She said that there was me and a couple others that had reached out and said, you know, can we just have an hour to talk about mental health, even at conference, because it is that important. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that makes sense to me. So
Nathan, can I jump in there real quick, or?
yeah, am I going to say it right, Tina?
Oh.
Well, she says sometimes asking for help means swallowing your pride. As Chuck and I were talking one time, I guess I was saying about crying. Somebody said it's a weakness, and I was like, no, it takes a lot of strength. It takes more strength to ask for help or to cry than it does to not. What's up, Steve?
No, I was gonna say my when I was 8 years old, my mom committed suicide. So and I'm 57 now, so I've lived with it my whole life. And my dad was a sergeant major in the Army, and he had no time for bullshit whatsoever. And then, you know, I went in the Navy, and it was kind of the same thing. You know, like one of my friends told me, you know, the common thread with people in the military is they have zero tolerance for bullshit, you know. And so, you know, as like growing up with that and then having that instilled in me, it wasn't until probably in my 40s that I started to like realize how that affected me and what was going on with me, you know, like my relationships and why I chose, you know, the women that I was with at the time. And FY, I've been divorced 3 times, so you know, I have a lot of experience when I deal with divorce clients, you know. But I read a book it was called Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop, and then I went and read his other books. And if you haven't read that book, you got to read it. You got to like get it on Audible, listen to it. I like listening to him because he's Australian, and he's, you know, he's raw. He just says it like it is. But one of the things that he talks about is how people make excuses for what they do and why they do it to keep themselves where they are. And you know, it basically teaches you how to be accountable for everything. Like, I can give you an example, and this has always bothered me. You know, even when I was in the Navy, I used to like I would meet people from all over the world, and you know, like people from like you know, Chicago, from the hood, they would be proud. I'm proud. I'm from the hood. I'm from the hood, you know, and it's like, why are you proud of that? Like, look deep, you know, why are you proud from being somewhere that's depressed or, you know, and people wear these things as a badge of honor to protect themselves, you know, instead of being real with people and, you know, asking for help or crying when, you know, when you need to cry. Sometimes you need to, sometimes you need, you know, people to, you know, talk to you and be real with you. If you keep walking around with this shield, you know, and this persona, right? I forgot who it was. Somebody said there were three different people. Everybody had three personas. They had the public persona, they had the private persona, like that you only get to know if you're their friend, and then they got that persona that no one will ever know, right? Right. So, you know, you have to, you know, I think, you know, this book helped me like a lot to reflect and to really learn, you know, what was going on and how to deal with it. Um, but it's tough, man. I mean, you know, if you ever need anything, bro, you know, I've dealt with, you know, that shit my whole life, and it's, you know, you'll never understand why. You'll never understand what really happened. But you know, if you need somebody to talk to, you know, you got my number, bro.
Oh,
Anytime.
I know. Absolutely. And Steve, that's what I like about, like, I know I could call you. I know I could call
You
Chuck.
ain't even got to say 8 minutes, bro.
That's
If
right.
I'm if I'm
I
on the
could
toilet,
call,
if I
I could call AP. Rebecca just got off. Like, I could call, oh no, she's still here. I could call Rebecca. Like, I
yeah,
know there's people I can call. And, you know, for me, I struggled a long time with just trying to figure out the why or the who, right? And again, therapy and all of those things have helped. But, you know, all of us have things, you know, Steve, we have very similar paths, right? I had an alcoholic father who was abusive, beat the shit out of me. You know, I mean, that definitely fucked with your childhood up. Well, then I
oh
did what
yeah,
you did. I joined the army. You know, you don't cry, it's all macho, blah, blah, blah. And then you get out and you wonder, well, why does that guy have a drug problem and all messed up in the head? He's been kind of fucked up for a while, right? And so, you know, for me, therapy was the thing that helped me understand the whys. And again, I'm not, you know, those that go to a conference or know me know, like, you know, while I'm wild and I'm crazy and I like to have fun, they also know there's that different side too. And you know, it's a little more calm and empathetic, and you know, there's the business side of me that kicks ass too. But you know, there's also just that me, right? The guy that has feelings, you know, or the woman that has feelings. So and we have to remember that. What's up, Miss Nelson, my friend and cohort there? You got your
Yeah,
hand
hello.
raised.
I was so excited to see that you were speaking today, A, because I love you. So I'm going to listen to anything you have to say at any time, but also because mental health is so important and it is such a big topic. And I love the fact that so many people are here to partake and are making that priority, because you're right. In this business, there's so much there in business and in life that presses upon us. And one of the things I think, you know, comes into this discussion when you're looking at mental health and is the feelings and emotions surrounding it and the way that we react with it, how we deal with it. And I think a prominent thing that we associate, especially like when we're talking about this, you know, the real estate industry in general, right, where there's that pressure to produce and to have the high numbers and that presentation of this very strong, powerful exterior, we're going to get it done no matter what, that there can be a feeling of shame if we feel like we're not holding up underneath, you know. And Brene Brown does a lot of, you know, fantastic work talking about that. And when you have that courage to sit and talk about the things that you're going through and you're struggling with, you bring that to light, and shame has no room to stand when it's out in the open, right? And you're giving those people that chance to support you and to love on you. And you in turn are giving them that permission, that it's and that safety to know that it's okay to struggle, to know that it's okay to talk it out. Because I think that's another thing, is we don't generally like to try and bring it up because we feel like we have to hold up that tough exterior, that we have to be impenetrable. And we could be doing so much benefit, not only to ourselves, but to others, when we give them that safety and that permission to be human and to be open and to partner together for that.
You know, I mean, I could just say Rebecca's right. I mean, and she's 100% right on everything she said. We a lot of the stuff I think sometimes we just put on ourselves. You know, my therapist would tell you I am my own worst enemy because of the expectations that my goals, the things I put in front of me, sometimes just almost stupidly unrealistic, right? But yet we still do them. But I could tell somebody else, hey, your expectations are too high. Let's drop them a little bit, be more realistic. But listening to my own self, whole different ball game, right? And then the other side is, yeah, if you think you struggle bad or a lot, there's nothing wrong with getting professional help. Like people say, oh, you go to a therapist. I say, look, I go to a coach. There's a person that, while they know me intimately, I've been going to the same therapist, like I said, 7 or 8 years. We were talking about the other day. She knows me extremely well, but she can give me an opinion that is always not one that would say, like CC Miller here is going to lean a little bit of a direction generally towards whatever maybe I'm thinking, right? And so therapy is great. Hey, I said drugs. Yeah, I mean, let's see. Wait, where is it? Well, somewhere around here, I have some. I take them, right? I got them. I also have weed. Hey, listen, you don't have to like weed. I'll talk about it all day. Why? It helped me at one point. Why? Because I needed it. It's not like one of those things I was out there, let's get blasted every day. No, I needed it to get this brain to slow down. And it was something that worked for me. And doesn't work for everybody, but there's a lot of different things that can help you. If you're ADHD, you know, then they put you on methamphetamines, as crazy as it sounds, but they work great. And like I had to change the way I thought about that stuff too. What I found is a lot of these things are actually a superpower. And if you channel them again the right way, man, you can do unbelievable things. Somebody had their hand raised.
Well, I'll go since
No.
nobody has their hands raised. One thing that I'd like to share is that, you know, in my late 30s, I was a young, pride-filled punk and struggling with life. But one of my clients actually cared enough to sit me down and hand me a business card and say, look, call this guy. This is the only time I'm going to talk to you about this because it's your business. But why don't you call this guy? And it was a counselor. And I didn't even realize how debilitating that it had gotten for me. I didn't see it because I was pride-filled at the time. And it really helped me out. And I've ever since then, I'll forever be grateful to that guy. And I've tried to keep my eyes open for people who are struggling and, you know, just in a kind and friendly way, you know, try and point them the right direction if they're interested. Rebecca, I think you had something you wanted to add.
No, that's what you guys are saying, especially in and not being afraid to ask for professional help. It just made me think of the fact that there's just a profound honesty in that, where it's not just accountability, but you have to sit and be honest with yourself. And that means taking a look at the good and the bad, like the things that you're prone to, what you know can trigger you, but while still recognizing your strengths in that and coming to that decision and taking those steps that are good for you, whether that be professional help or develop new skills or whatever. And so I think that for me just kind of like popped in my head as, oh, that honesty is a very important piece, I think, in mental health and being able to be especially honest with yourself.
Yeah, I'd agree, Rebecca. The first step to me is owning it. You got to own that you don't have it all figured out. Maybe you need somebody that'll just help you sort it out. You know, I often describe my brain as, you know, if you ever were to, you know, you go to a symphony, right? And before, when they're getting warmed up, it's woo, woo, you hear all these different instruments, but they're not actually making music, but they're all making a sound, right? I hear all those sounds, all 100 of them, all individually. Through therapy and knowing the right things that I know, I have individuals that take all those different instruments and they put them together. And now the noise is actually not noise, it's music. But I mean, I like, you get weird habits and weird things. And again, understanding the way your brain works is hugely important. And listen, I'll tell you too, though, therapy sometimes ain't fun. Like it can be painful. But by letting go of certain things you may carry, it can be also relieving, life-changing. Again, I'll tell you, I'm doing what they call inner child work right now. It's taken me 7+ years to get there. And I'm doing what they call EMDR and some other stuff. And I can't even tell you the amount of emotion involved in my last hour and a half last week of while it hurt, the amount of relief, the way it felt afterwards, the way this whole thing worked, it was like a sense of relief. And again, not fun. I wanted to kind of leave it packaged up in the corner so it never, like it was over there and it was always going to be there unless I unpacked it. And you gotta, again, Rebecca's right, you gotta get in there, you gotta own it, and then you gotta be real with yourself. And man, I'm telling you, ooh, shit can get spicy. Who else has got some input? I see a lot of faces, I see a lot of nodding heads. Again, you don't have to say anything, or you could.
Okay.
I mean, we've got
one more story. One more story, real quick. You're talking about Facebook and what if you're there was a brokerage out here in my area that has, they basically cover like 4 or 5 cities, and they put up these stats. Coldwell Banker. They put up these stats that they've 105 listings, and then Keller Williams 36, Allison James 20 something, and I'm like, they got 350 agents, right? So I'm like, this is bullshit. So I go in and look. They what they did was they went around and counted all the Coldwell Banker agents that had listings here from all the different Coldwell Banker brokerages, and they added all those up, but they didn't do that for everybody else, right? They only had 36 listing out of 350 agents, and I'm sitting there going, how does this make people feel? Right? People feel inadequate because I don't have 350. Meanwhile, if you break it down, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not their numbers are shit, basically. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff, comes flying in from left field, and people get all, like our realtor pictures, right? All our realtor pictures look like, if you saw mine, I'm gonna turn mine on right now. Look at that. Does that look like me? Hell no, right? But
at least it doesn't have hair.
That's true. Can't do nothing about that, bro. But anyway, I gotta bounce out. I got a meeting to go into. But man, anytime any of you guys need to talk, give me a holler.
Thanks, Steve. Here's a
Thank you,
question
Steve.
for the group. Does anybody in this group at the end of the night know they should go to bed, but yet maybe their husband or spouse partner goes to bed, kids in bed, but they're like, no, I'm going to stay up for a little bit. And they almost force themselves a little bit to stay. Does anybody do that perchance? Like, is there anybody? I'm just curious. Or am I the only one?
I don't
No, I'll just
force
stay up a
it,
little
but I've been having a lot of insomnia lately, for sure. Yeah.
All right, but all right. So the reason I ask is, Chuck and I were talking about something earlier. It's called revenge procrastination. I don't know if anybody's heard of that term or not. Again, another clinical term. I don't like to use them, but it is what it is. And I learned a lot about it because when I was unable to exercise, stay in the routines that are important to me, I had a lot of revenge procrastination. So I'm back, at least I feel like I am, and things are going positive here, week 4. But I get up at 4:20 in the morning, no pun intended, and then I generally sleep in my workout shorts, so it's a little bit faster. But I get up, I go to the gym, I do my hour workout or class that I'm doing right now. Mind you, very humbling. Here's a guy that ran in the same gym. I ran 46 miles on the treadmill one day for my 46th birthday, and I can't lay on my back and do leg lifts right now because of my spinal surgery. But I still show up. I'm still going, right? And then I come home. I usually stop and get a coffee, actually, and an everything bagel. I mean, I'm a creature of habit. And I say hi to Tracy and everybody at Einstein's. And then I get home, I toast my bagel. I'll prep my son's breakfast. I get out my 5-minute journal. If you don't have a 5-minute journal, I think they're great. And I write the 3 things I'm grateful for. I write the 3 things I want to get accomplished. I write my, what's it called? They ask you to write, my daily affirmation. It has a quote at the top of it. I will then drink my coffee, eat my bagel, and then I have a 7 o'clock accountability call. I get off it, I shower, and then I'm on an 8 o'clock call, and I am regimented in what I do. And that's for me, that works very well. And usually by noon, I've probably done more than most people do an entire day. But by doing what I do in a very kind of systematic way, what it does prevent me from doing is at the end of the night, I've already had my me time. So I won't revenge procrastinate. I won't be like, all right, honey, head to bed, son's in bed. I'll be like, no, and I'm tired. I've been up since 4:20, right? Yeah, and I will sit there and I will watch TV, meaningless, mindful, no point in it. The only reason I do it is to get that me time. And so if you feel like maybe you have insomnia or something, Rebecca, I don't know, but maybe that's just a form of revenge procrastination. But having that discipline or schedule, whatever you want to call it, is very important for me. And I know I'm not the only one. That I know a lot of friends that have to operate like that. And so sometimes that's the best way to go. But also in a mental health aspect, I'm a miracle morning guy. And I believe if you lose an hour in the morning, you don't get it back. I for up until literally 4 weeks ago, I was getting up at about 7:30 because I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything yet. But now that I got permission, I now have 15, wait, 7 times, 3 times 5, 15, 15 more hours each week. I don't know anybody in this room that couldn't do with an extra 15 hours. And it's amazing with what you can do with 15 hours, or that's 2 work days. If you were to work a 9 to 5 job, that's 2 work days, right? Almost. I mean, you're an hour short. But how productive could you be with that extra time? And it's oddly enough, it's important for my mental health. And oh, Roseanne, here you go. It's literally called the 5-minute journal. I love this thing. I have stacks of them. And as you see, like it just has, quotes, my I am grateful for Chuck, Roseanne, Rebecca. I'm grateful for my accountability call, right? Or whatever. And then what would make today great? That's it. And then my daily affirmation. Well, then at the end of the day, though, I get to go back. What are my highlights? What did I learn today? That's it. I can tell you with 100% certainty, if you were to go back and we were to read some of the books, because I've done it, some of the things that I would put in there and or do or write down, guess what happened to them? Somebody want to guess? I mean, damn it, we got a room full of intelligent people. Somebody's got to know what happened with whatever that visualization or thing that I wrote in there. What do you think happened?
Well, I'm hoping that they happened eventually. That's what you're working
Right,
towards.
yeah. That's it. They actually came to fruition. I remember when I started in real estate, like I started doing these early on, and I was like, I want to buy a new truck. I want a new house. I want to make $100,000 a year. Like certain things that I would just put in there, right? But I was writing them down. Well, I remember when I bought my first truck. I remember when I made my first 6-figure income. All of those things happened, but I also believe it's because I was writing them down. I was thinking about them. I was intentional. And so, this to me is a great tool. And if you're, again, a miracle morning person, actually, this book came out of that book, if I remember right. I get my scribing done. I get my daily affirmation done, right? The things it says in the book to do. So I know we got a few minutes left, 13 to be exact, I think. But if anybody leave, or when you leave this room, the important part for me to at least convey to you, and as you saw in that video, I've always got 8 minutes. Anytime, any place, doesn't matter. Pick up the phone. I have 8 minutes, or somebody that has 8 minutes. Trust me, 100%. I swear to you, they got 8 minutes. And that phone call, you never know, can be life altering. I will leave you one last story and experience. When I was homeless, when I was getting that food out from behind the Safeway, it was a moment of desperation. And I called a friend. Now, some of us old enough remember I had to actually go to a payphone and call collect. And his name is Conrad, but we all called him Rad. And it was one phone number I could remember, because all of us are in here old enough to remember we actually had to memorize phone numbers. It was one that I could remember in my haze, and I called Rad collect, and he answered the phone. And he said, and he talks like a big teddy bear. He's like, "Hey, baby, what's up?" And I was like, "Hey, I haven't had a shower in a week. I'll just be eating food out of the dumpster. I need a hot meal. There's a hostel I can go stay in, but I need to buy a bus ticket to it because it's not where I'm at right now. And I get at least put a roof over my head and get, I mean, I didn't have any. Mid-90s. He's like, I can give you $400. He said, I can wire it to you. $400, you know, whatever, almost 30 years ago was a sizable amount of money for some 20-year-old to give his buddy who's a 20-year-old who had a drug problem. And he said, I don't want it back. I just want you to do the right thing with it. Well, I had my 30th reunion. October was a year ago. And we were sitting in my buddy's house in his library. And of course, Rad, I'd asked him to come early. And he sat down in that room and I said, hey, do you remember, you know, back in the day when I called you? He said, yeah, baby. I said, how much money did you give me? He said, 400. And I said, I need you to know something. That money, it changed my life. It saved my life. The tears aren't because I'm sad. The tears are because I was blessed. And I looked at him and I said, Rad, I want you to know I've never forgotten it. And I reached in my pocket and I pulled out 4 Chris $100 bills. And I gave it to him. And you want to see a 50-year-old friend cry? He cried a lot. And he said it was one of the best gifts he's ever received. Brad had 8 minutes for me. Had he not, I wouldn't be probably here having this conversation. It's kind of weird. It's never talked either. I mean, I have to a degree to certain people, but never, you know, like this. And this is why and why I'm working on, you know, sharing my story and what it's going to be called is Own It. But why? Because people need to know that one thing can change somebody's life. That 8 minutes, that phone call changed my life. It saved my life. I mean, it literally, you know, I was at a juncture. And had he not, I don't know what the outcome would have been. But it was 8 minutes. So again, leave this room. No, you got 8 minutes. And the more I keep trying to do this, you know, again, I'm going to, this is developing into a talk and to a presentation. I don't want to call it a presentation, just a presentation. I actually told James Dwiggins at conference last year, I said, it's going to be fucked up one day when you have to have me as a keynote. And he laughed. He said, Nathan, you're probably the guy that, well, I will have up there. The first part of it was trying to figure out how I was going to share it. And I think I figured out part of that today. So for me, I appreciate you being here. It means a lot. It showed me I can do it. I was really worried just about talking about it. You get all these things in your head, and that shadow self is Chuck and I were talking, is over there like, you're an idiot. You don't want to do this. But no, I'm good. It actually made me feel better. And I want to hear what Patricia has to say. So Patricia, let's go. Looks like she's drinking.
No, I sell wine. But I have been sitting here, and of course, Chuck knows me very well to know that I probably could have and would have had 59 comments by now. But I can't take my camera off because
Okay.
I have my robe on, but your story is my father. And I really don't think that he knew that he had the person to call. And my mother, I know she didn't make the call. And I lost my mom when I was 16. And my dad just passed in 2017, but he had cancer. And when I got to the hospital and he had surgery that morning, and my daughter and I got there, and we were like, oh, what do we need to do? You know, how can we help to take care of him? And the doctor banged on the countertop and he said, tell him to stop using drugs. So my dad was 65, 66 years old and had used drugs the morning of his surgery, where his spine, the cancer had wrecked his spine so bad until if they had not done the surgery, his spine would have collapsed. And they were more concerned about that than the cancer was all over his body. And I have a very difficult time with understanding the drug use, because I don't know, I don't think anyone on this screen, but feel like I would call anyone on this screen if I needed anything. And whatever his rationale for not doing that, I'm just grateful that you did it. I'm more grateful for the person that answered. I think what also, not just being my dad, but what else touched me so much is I tell people this almost weekly. When the phone rings and I'm around somebody and they say, oh, I'll call them back. And I'd say, don't miss a call because of me, because you don't know what that person wants. That person could be on the side of the road. That person could be a gun to their head and they have to make one call. You know, sometimes we just think that, oh, that's so major. That's impossible that's what it could, but you don't know. And whoever that you're talking to can't wait 30 seconds for you to say, hello, are you good? Then I don't want to be talking to the person that I'm in front of. And I try to share that with people all the time, and they just don't get it. And I just think that your story just solidifies what I've said. And I'm only thinking about, I may have had a flat or ran out of gas, not your situation where your life was dependent on someone to answer the phone. And so I just appreciate you being bold enough. And as the lady said in the chat, being humble enough to be so vulnerable to share your story. And I just believe that, one, you're definitely blessed, and that we're blessed to bless the 22 of us to listen to this, because we should be able to share this with somebody. And if we're not in your shoes, I know all of us know someone that was in your shoes, whether it's immediate family or further family, but it's somebody. It's kind of like drug abuse. It's kind of like cancer. It is not prejudice. It hits us all. And so I just appreciate you. I thank you. And bless you.
Well, Patricia, first and foremost, with your father, this is the way I put it to people that don't understand the drug abuse. Your dad had a disease. And if they said, oh, his drug addiction's a disease, then people view it different. Your dad had a disease. It's no different than having cancer or having some other disease, but yet we want to treat that disease like it's something different, and it's not. It's a disease. Your father had a disease. Don't believe it was anything else, and give yourself the right to be okay with that, but to understand it a lot of times it's out of our control, and finding the help is damn near impossible. And thank you for sharing your story as well. Again, that's what I want people to do. This group today gave me the validation that I was seeking, that my goal is to, my goal is to change one person's life. I believe that there's enough in there from what I'm told and the people helping me craft my talk that probably help more than one. And that's why I do it. And because there's a lot more that are like me or your father. And if we can get in front of them, if I could have got in front of my friend a few weeks ago, maybe that 8 minutes would have made the difference. So thank you for sharing with us. And this is one of those ones where the universe is calling, and I got a buddy said the universe is calling. You pick up the phone. Somehow Chuck and I connected again, and it was a talk, and it could have been a text. And Chuck said, "Well, hell, why don't we talk about it?" And here we are. So thanks to Chuck.
Well, thank you, sir. Man, I got to tell you, this is by far the most powerful focus group that we've had. And thank you for everybody for sharing and everybody for being here. I know, man, that this group put a tear in my eye today. So thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you back here in 2 weeks. And I don't remember what our next topic is, but I'll post it on the focus group Facebook page. And you can probably hear my whining dog down there. So thanks again, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and especially thank you, Nathan. It's that was really powerful, and it really helped me. I know that.